Am I live? I'm live. Okay. According to YouTube, I am live. Um, Hello everybody. My name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. How you guys doing? I meant to do this at 10 o'clock, and I've been struggling with this dumbass software trying to get this working. So anyway, okay, yeah, I guess I am live. All right, thank you very much. Fucking YouTube. All right. Now, this is my fault. I have an ancient laptop back here that's kind of a piece of shit, and I need to get a new laptop. That's why it's like all shitty. So, one thing I noticed from our last live stream is that whenever I would put on a movie preview, it would stutter and look like shit and freeze up. So, we're not doing that anymore. It just looks like ass. And, it's fun, but maybe eventually when I get some new equipment, we'll start doing that again. But kind of sucks. I wanted to look at the I wanted to watch the Top Gun preview, right? Because it kind of blows me away that they're making a fucking sequel to Top Gun. It's like, I guess they're just running out of like 80s franchises to like remake or whatever. They already remade Ghostbusters like, twice now, and Star Wars and Total Recall and all that shit, and RoboCop and everything. So they already remade everything. So there's nothing left but fucking Top Gun. It's like Top Gun was like what? How? What more needs to be said in that story? Really? Like what else are they gonna fucking remake? you know, Trading Places too. I mean, they're gonna run out of shit to do eventually. Um, but anyway, I don't know. But I watched the trailer. It's like, whatever. You know, who cares? I don't know. Fucking, oh my god. Anyway, so what are we going to talk about today? Um, let's see. First off, because this is all like emails and shit that I get from people asking me to talk about stuff. Onionson. Who the hell is this guy? Okay, apparently this dude is a YouTuber, Onionson, and he got busted trying to, you know, groom underage girls. Right. Which is horrible, rape and shit like that. And he's quit YouTube. And apparently this guy was a big thing. I have heard his name before, but I have really never um like worked with it. I've never like paid attention to this guy. All right, to be honest, like Onionson, like who cares? Really? Like I don't know. Do you give a shit? I don't give a shit, to be honest. But he is big and in the news and all right, says we're back. Sorry, looks like I got disconnected, but now I'm back. Yeah, we were looking at Onionson. Okay, let's just look at his popular vlogs. Wow, sorry, please stop this. Oops. I'm guessing this all has to do with his, like, people yelling at him and him begging to not get kicked off or be canceled or whatever. Who knows? Let's see. Let's take a look at videos. What kind of content does this guy even make? You know, I'm done. Dissolution. Help. Okay, I don't want to hear about you bitching and moaning. Let's see. Trump supporters. Should I date my coworker, my office girl? Adult virgin stories. So is that just him like talking about other people? Okay. So he's basically just a vlogger, is what this guy is. Teslas are junk. I legally changed my name. Cut the BS, dear ugly people. Let's be honest. Real talk. Are you actually beautiful? Is that like a healthy in any size kind of thing? Okay, dear short girls. So it basically just looks like empty-headed, vapid bullshit. This is what it looks like to me. I don't know. Uh, I I guess people are into this kind of shit. Whatever, you know. Diapergate. What the fuck even is that? I don't know. Is it wrong to eat meat? Who was Belle Delphine? Okay, so he's basically just a vlogger, is what this dude is. And what even happened to him? I guess the whole thing with it was that he got caught doing creepy shit. Let's remove this guy. Let's get rid of this. Okay, I don't want to look at this dude's face anymore. Apparently, he got caught doing creepy shit, and you know, grooming young girls. Which, if you don't know what grooming is, it's basically when you do not have sex with an underage girl, but you kind of, keep her around and flirt with her and basically groom her so that when she turns 18, you're legally to have allowed to have sex with her, and then you just move in, right? And it's, not illegal, but it's genuinely creepy and underhanded, and many people consider it one step above rape, to be honest. And I think I kind of agree with that. It's kind of screwed up because if you think about it, you're manipulating a young person, say a minor, really. I mean, whether some people consider teenagers to be adults or not, I personally don't. I think teenagers are still children, right? You know, and it's just really a sick and sour, sick and disgusting thing to do, especially if you're, the older you get, the more disgusting it becomes. Right. So apparently that's what the big deal is with this guy. I'm not exactly sure if he's actually being accused of raping anyone who's underage. I haven't really looked that far into it, but apparently yeah, wow. I guess Onion Sun is quitting YouTube. Well, that's but to be honest, it's like me personally, like, because somebody asked me to make a video about this, and it's like, well, I don't know who the guy is. I don't care. I don't think I've ever even watched his videos before ever at this point, and it's like, why should I comment on shit that I don't know about? You know what I mean? It's more of, I don't know. I don't know. I guess people have a way of regulating this kind of stuff. you know, when you see some creepy freaking dude doing shit like this, like, people react, I guess. Anyway, what else are we going to talk about? Let's see. Some more stuff in the news. J.K. Rowling is getting a lot of shit from her fans because she is a TERF. Okay. Well, what does TERF mean? TERF is a trans exclusionary radical feminist, right? Um, Now, some people out there who aren't into this stuff, you might not know what that means either. Basically, they're the radical feminism, which is not always necessarily bad, right? But they're people that they're very anti-trans, right? They see trans people as men who are invading women's spaces. To be honest, to that's I think yeah, that's basically a summary of what TERF beliefs are. And you know, they basically say that the only real women are biological women who are born as women, you know, and trans men, trans women are like, or trans people in general, but mainly trans women are mentally ill and all this other shit like that, you know, and they're not really that influential, but you'll see them kind of, worming their way into various political movements and stuff like that, and things like this, the bathroom ban, that was like hot shit in around the country a few years ago, like banning trans women from women's bathrooms and stuff like that, and because they're really men and they just want to invade, and they're going to molest little girls. That's a talking point. You know, banning trans people from the military. That's another one that they got behind. And they're kind of like, people basically think like the Westboro Baptist Church, but instead of Christianity, it's feminism. Right. That's what those guys are. So now, what got, you know, oh hey, I see a guy there. How you doing, Mr. 1911 greater than all? And Cody Course, what's up, guys? Thank you for joining. Um, Cody is asking a question. Okay. What do you feel about the homeless problem in California? Also, how do you feel about Republicans exploiting the problem to smear Democrats while offering no proposals to solve the problem? Well, how do I feel about homeless people? There is a lot of homeless people in California, and I think it's a travesty. Um, I live outside of Los Angeles, a little north of Los Angeles, but it actually is technically Los Angeles County, so I guess I am in Los Angeles, but kind of like on the very northern edge, right? And when you go down into LA, you see thousands of these people everywhere, and it's always kind of been like that as long as I can remember. But um, the thing is, it has gotten a lot worse in recent years. Now, some people you'll hear talking about how there's like, they'll say shit like, yeah, there's a homeless encampment underneath every freeway freeway overpass. It's not like that. It's not that bad. There's not, there is something like 50,000 homeless people in LA, right? Which is ridiculous. But then you got to remember there's millions and millions of people in Los Angeles, and the city is gigantic. I mean, just go to Google Maps one of these days and look at Los Angeles. It basically is extremely spread out. It's all over the place, right? So, um, really, it's like not as many as you would think, but it has increased in recent years. And like it's especially in downtown places like there's Skid Row in Los Angeles, right? It's pretty fucking horrible, and you can kind of see like the separation of church and state. Yeah, I mean not church. What am I saying? Not church and state. Rich and poor. You can see that dichotomy of you know if you go to downtown, for example, where you'll see like giant skyscrapers of some mega corporation, and then like right down the street, people living in tents. You know what I mean? You see that a lot. Now, what can we do about it? Well, there really isn't that much more that I think we can do without having some radical changes, right? Because there are a lot of homeless like services in LA, but people don't like going to them. Things like shelters, right? And I've actually talked to a couple people about this, like how come you don't go to shelters? It's because if you go to a homeless shelter, people will rip you off. If you go there, you have like a backpack with your clothes and like maybe a phone, something like that. A couple of things to keep you sane or whatever. Right. And if you go to a homeless shelter, there'll be people there that'll steal from you while you're sleeping or beat you up and take it, stuff like that. So some people prefer not to like go to homeless shelters. Um, I mean, I really think I think we're doing a good job of keeping people fed. You don't hear about homeless people starving to death in Los Angeles or anything like that, or freezing to death, or dying from being outdoors, dying from exposure, shit like that. Even when it gets really cold, because it does get cold here sometimes, in the winter. I mean, shit, last night was freezing, right? Um, you don't hear about homeless people dying in LA, but it's sort of like we're just maintaining them. You know what I mean? And we're not really doing much to help them. And I think really what could help is, we got to get them housing, right? Well, how? How do you do it? How do you give people who have nothing housing? Basically it would have to be for free, right? So there's lots of different solutions we could go about, and it's going to take some radical changes in as far as taxation, money. You got to fund it somehow, you know. And there's lots of different things you can do. I mean, everything from creating temporary housing that you got to apply for, all the way to actually giving people homes, stuff like that, right? Um, Yeah, let's see. Cody, problem is California has a massive income disparity and constant handouts. You're exactly right, Cody. That is 100% the truth, you know. Because we do in California. There is, millions and millions of dollars flowing through Los Angeles at any given day. I mean, you have the Port of Long Beach bringing in all the trade and everything from overseas. You got Hollywood, center. Los Angeles is also the center of like banking and software development. In Southern California, stuff like that. And there's really, there's neighborhoods in LA that are like blocked off, right? Places where extremely rich people live. In fact, I actually live close. Like my town is next door to the town where fucking Puff, not fucking Snoop Dogg lives, right? You know, he actually lives in this. It's funny because you're like you have to go off the main road and go in this back road and around these hills and shit, and then there's like this gated thing, but it's not just a normal gated community with a guard and all that. It looks like something out of the United Nations, like these huge like pylons with flags on them and shit, and you have to drive up this driveway, and it's all like green grass and all this shit. And there's fucking armed guards outside. That's where Snoop Dogg lives. Like, you have communities like that in LA, and then you have other communities where it's like track houses, you know, and then middle class people, and then you have like the really poor areas, like, and it's all kind of just jammed together. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Um, but I don't know. I mean, I think there's anyway. Getting back to the homeless people, there's a lot more we can be doing. You know, just funny. Kind of a side tangent here. I've been watching on YouTube videos about tiny houses, right? Because I watched one and then the algorithm starts suggesting shit to you. So I think YouTube thinks I'm homeless now because it's like giving me like videos on how to make like vans and shit, like living in vans, right? And tiny houses. And I think that would be a good thing too. Like make little tiny off-grid sustainable houses that can be moved, you know. And something like even the size of my room here. My room here is like maybe 8 by, maybe 10 by 15, something like that. It's not that big. This, well, actually, no, that's way big. More like 8 by 10, this room here. Like, maybe. Not even that huge. And you could conceivably make a little tiny functioning apartment out of something that's this big. Even half the size of this, really. And because what do you really need to live? You need a place to sleep, store some junk, and take a dump, and maybe take a shower, right? That's all you got to do. And you could do that in something the size of this. And you can even put something like this on wheels and you can move it around. And because I actually read something about that where people were making these little tiny shack houses and like giving them to homeless people. And then like the fucking cops were coming and like confiscating them, which is bullshit. It's like way to kick a guy when he's down and everything. Anyway, the other part of your question was Republicans exploiting the problem to smear Democrats. Well, you know what? They're always going to do that. That's the thing, right? Um, Republicans really hate California. Let's see. Wait. I think small housing should be built for homeless people. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what I was thinking too. You know, um, heard that San Francisco there's human shit on the streets from the homeless population. Many people say that it's because California offered free handouts. Okay, that's bullshit. Okay, the whole thing with the human feces, that's bullshit. That doesn't exist in San Francisco to any more extent than any other city on earth. I mean, in the country, really, because in pretty much every city in the country, you're going to get homeless people, and you're going to get people peeing outside, taking shitting outside. That happens everywhere that there's people, not just homeless people. So that's really just a smear, that Republicans say like, yeah, there's shit in the streets because of home. No, that's bullshit. Don't believe that. Um, but anyway, yeah, I want to get back to what you're talking about. Republicans um, smearing Democrats. Like, they're gonna smear Democrats about anything, right? Because here's the thing: even if, let's say, San Francisco had no homeless people, let's say it was a utopia, right? and it had no homeless people and had tons of jobs and all of that stuff, they would come up with something else. They would say that it was filled with, you know, soy latte drinking, fucking, spicy mustard eating leak people, right? Coastal elites. That's what they would say. And so it's like what we should do is just not try to appease them, to be honest. So we got our guy here in the chat, 91911 greater than all, 1911 greater than all. I'm not sure what does that mean anyway? What does your name mean, Mr. Greater than all? I just want to know. Um, you know, and I've actually heard some of this stuff from, not from him specifically, but from other conservatives where they like bag on California and shit like that, and think that it's a socialist hellhole here and all this. It's like, it's like California has become like a whipping boy kind of thing that they can make fun of, but really in real life, it's actually a great place to live, right? Has a very high standard of living, you know. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Don't believe what Fox News says. Exactly. But so okay, I want to actually address something that 9/11 here said. 1911 said, giving free cat crap to homeless people, right? To them, homeless people would do give incentive. Wait, what? All giving free crap to homeless people would do is give incentive to being homeless, and no different than the social welfare programs initiated by L.B. Johnson. Well, to that I would say, have you ever been homeless? Um, well, I imagine something that you don't like, right? Nobody wants to be homeless. Okay. So why would, say, for example, giving job training or, free food or something to a homeless person, how would that keep them being homeless exactly? Like, see, that's kind of a stereotype where you say that they're just lazy and they don't want to work, you know, and all of that shit. And basically, you're just, you're enabling people to just be lazy and leech off the system. It's kind of a stereotype. Like when you have nothing, you know, like imagine like somebody who's been homeless for 15 years. What do you think it's like to be that guy? You know, how the fuck are you gonna get a job if you're homeless for 15 years? Like, okay, it's hard enough. All right, if you lose your job and it takes you 4 months to get one, it's hard enough to explain that gap in your employment on a resume when you go and get an interview. The guy goes, "What have you been doing for the last 4 months?" What do you say to him? "I've been job training." In real life, you've been looking for a job, right? It's hard enough to explain that. So how are you going to go to a guy and say, "Yeah, I haven't worked for 15 years. I've just been homeless," right? Do you think anybody is going to hire you if you have that, right? If you have to explain that in an interview? No. Do you think, I mean, it just, nobody wants to sleep in a dumpster, right? Nobody wants to sleep in a tent even, or even in their car, right? Or in a camper. Let's say that you're a lucky homeless person and you have an RV and you've been living in that for 15 fucking years. You know, like nobody likes that, okay? So it's not like if you give them, some clothes from like a donated thing, some free clothes from a donated thing, and like some food stamps so that they can actually like afford to get some food, right? And shit like that, and maybe like some job training. It's not like they're just gonna take all of that and continue to live in their fucking dumpster or their tent or their camper. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. It doesn't make any sense. Now, you have people also, a lot of homeless people are insane. That's another thing you got to remember. They have mental problems, right? And actually, if you were homeless for an extended amount of time, you'd probably go a little crazy too. So this is nothing to like blame anybody about, right? And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we don't take care of our mentally ill people in this country. We don't, you know. So how is somebody who's like been homeless for 20 years and, schizophrenic and talking to themselves and shit like that, how are they going to get a job? What are you going to do for them? Like, okay, I mean, you want them to work, right? That's what you want. You don't want them to leech off of the system. You don't want to have to pay for them, right? Through your tax dollars. So, what do you do with those people? Like, what? Give them a job somewhere. Doing what? Right? How are you going to help them? They need, no, you need to actually help them first, fund like outpatient programs and mental asylums and hospitals and shit like that. And you need to help them get well before they can go and then work and join society and get a job and pay taxes and get a 401k and all that shit. That's how the shit works. Um, okay, I see you guys are like talking to each other there. So that's kind of cool. We're getting some dialogue going, right? Which is fine, but please, guys, remember, you know, keep it civil, right? And I'm totally cool with you guys. Just don't, let's not degenerate and start fighting and shit in my comment section. I would like to bring people together. Anyway, I actually am gonna cut this off a little and say about 10 minutes because I'm gonna go see the new Star Wars movie. So let's say what is it about 11:10 right now? Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Does anybody, you guys have anything else you want me to talk about in the last 10 minutes here before we go? I mean, I could talk more about. I had shit that I was gonna talk about, and we kind of made this better, I think, because I was just gonna talk about stuff in the news and shit like that, and crazy did and all that. But whatever. I actually like this more. I like this interacting with the audience stuff. Let's see. Let me look at some of your comments here. Uh, okay, don't believe Fox News. Reference the three-gun competition. Don't know what that means. What they mean by coastal elites is something in the lines of Jews. Yep, that's absolutely true. That's definitely, there's a little bit of anti-Semitism hidden in that whole like coastal elites thing, you know. Um, but it's not completely that though. There's also been a distrust of that of elitism in general, right? In conservative circles, and it's not just elite. Like they'll say the evil coastal elites like that. It's actually something that kind of goes back several generations, right? It has its roots in the Industrial Revolution, really. And what it is like back in the founding of the country, everything was all rural and agriculture and shit like that. And then people started migrating to the cities because that's where the jobs were. Oh, hey, what's up? Give me 5 minutes. All right, sorry. All right, I got the 5 minute warning because we're gonna go watch Star Wars. So anyway, but there was a lot of distrust between the rural and urban centers. That's where that kind of began, you know, um, because people would look back at like people that lived in the country and call them rubes and stuff like that, you know, and that's really kind of where we started to see that split in our cultures, between Ruben and or, rural and urban. You know what I mean? I mean, because if you think about like say, you know, that's kind of how America is. North and south, right? Country, city. Like you have that. There's like two distinct cultures. There's a very distinct like conservative, rural. We're the real Americans kind of thing. We don't like people telling us what to do. Right. That's where that comes from. And unfortunately, a lot of that attitude has extended to science, right? You know, it's extended to not just social stuff like gay marriage and abortion and rights for trans people, that kind of thing. But it's also extended also to science, you know, global warming, for example, right? We don't believe it. That's just some bullshit that the coastal elites came up with to control you, you know. Abortion, of course, right? They don't believe any of the science behind that. That's just something that the evil coastal elites have come up with, the experts, Right. And you see that a lot too, like when it comes to the politicians, conservative politicians, that they always like want to focus in on shit that makes them seem like real Americans, you know, like say George W. Bush. Why did they like him so much? Because he was a guy you could go get a beer with, you know. That was one of the things that was like a positive in his camp, you know. He's a down, you know, good old boy. You can get a beer with him. You can talk to him, you know. And why did they hate Barack Obama? Because he got spicy mustard on his hamburger one time, right? Hey, kitty, you know, or whatever. Because he wore a tan suit. He's a coastal elite. He's out of touch with people, you know. And that's unfortunately you see a lot of conservative commentators use that as well, and that's part of the, you know, part of the reason why they hate California so much. You know, it's like this sort of boogeyman where all the fucking evil coastal elites that want to control you live, you know. And yeah, I mean there is a little bit of anti-Semitism in there, and there's also a little bit of crazy kind of, you know, NWO shit for some people, but it's unfortunate that that's kind of where, you know, like conservative politicians and media figures capitalize on that, you know, because there's nothing like good old fashioned hate to sell books, right? That's basically it. You know, people like Ann Coulter, you know, Sean Hannity, whatever. Buy my book, watch my TV show. It's okay for you to hate people in California, you know, because they're not real Americans or whatever. But anyway, okay, guys, I'm really sorry. Hey, both of you, Cody and 911, thank you for joining me. You know, and also thank you 911. We're like kind of I don't want to try to like be picking at you and shit. You know, I don't want to be picking on you or whatever. Right? So, but thank you both for joining me, and we'll probably